Hello and welcome to the Ryan Max Show. Tonight's episode is on the border again, but we've got a lot of other issues to get to. Since we last talked about the border, there have been more standoffs between the Biden administration and the state of Texas. Most importantly, there has been a Supreme Court ruling that has come under hot water, and this was handed down last week, a 5-4 decision that basically states that Texas cannot block federal agents from the border. Now, the two that voted for this in the 5 majority were Chief Justice John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett. Chief Justice Roberts, as we know, is a rhino, and he will do anything to get his agenda across on the Supreme Court. He doesn't want the court to go too far to the right, so if he has to kind of bring it in and make some decisions that aren't really all that conservative, he will, regardless of what the Constitution says. He has the all-important swing vote, and he's more often than not liberal siding. Now, not sure what Barrett's decision was in regarding to her vote, but as it stands, we've got a 5-4 decision from the Supreme Court that says Texas has to allow federal agents into the section where they were blocking them. However, in reading that order, it doesn't really say that Texas has to do anything other than let them in. Now, we know that there has been a huge agreement and understanding that the Texas Border Patrol, the Federal Border Patrol Agency, and Texas National Guard are in agreement that the border is overrun and they will not be cutting down the razor wire. But just to be clear, razor wire at the Capitol on January 6th, okay, with 25,000 National Guard troops all that following 2 months. Razor wire at the border, not cool. So let's just grab that. So this is from the Texas Tribune, and they go on to explain, so the order does not explain the justice's decision, but it effectively upholds a longstanding court ruling that the Constitution gives the federal government sole responsibility of the border. I think no one is denying that. However, when you have an administration that is not doing its job on the border, then you have the state, and it's entirely up to the state then to take care of the border itself, which is not the role of the state. But when you have an abject failure as a federal government, that's what you get. Texas is doing above and beyond what they should be doing at the border. It is the federal government's responsibility to take care and protect the border from invasion. We are under an invasion at the border, and this administration is wholeheartedly the cause of it. So the order vacated a previous injunction from the Fifth Circuit Appeals that prevented the Border Patrol agents from cutting the wire. In recent weeks, Shelby Park has been a center of a standoff between the government and Texas over immigration enforcement. More recently, Governor Abbott has ramped up border enforcement around this 47-acre park by surrounding the perimeter by razor wire and limiting access to the city park. Now, this is a city park, so the city has full access to it, and they can decide what they want to do with it. Quote, the Biden administration has repeatedly cut wire that Texas has installed on top of the illegal crossings, opening the floodgates to illegal immigrants. The absence of razor wire and other deterrent strategies encourages migrants to make unsafe and illegal crossings between ports of entry. While making the job of Texas National Guard and soldiers and DPS troopers more dangerous and difficult, a spokesperson for Abbott said in a statement, this case is ongoing, and the Governor Abbott will continue fighting to defend Texas's property and its constitutional authority. Now, they have a state constitution, and they've written this into their authority to protect the border. In a statement, the White House celebrated the Supreme Court's order. Of course they did, by enabling the federal authorities to address urgent humanitarian situations and enforce our laws. What laws? The laws are not being enforced already by your administration. So this not at all seems like them. Quote, Texas political stunts like placing razor wire near the border simply make it harder and more dangerous for frontline personnel to do their jobs. They aren't the ones crossing the border over the wire. The illegal immigrants are. So how is it more dangerous on the Border Patrol? It's not. It's an excuse. So they go on to say, we need adequate resources and policy changes to address our broken immigration system. It wasn't broken. For 4 years under Trump, you had the safest border policy and you had the strongest policy. You deported people who weren't here. legally, and you cut down on the people coming across illegally. You made them go through the port of entry. You had the stay in Mexico policy on asylum agreements. You had, at his worst, I read it a couple weeks ago, you had at its worst was 850,000 people come on his administration. Trump's worst year is the first year under Biden. It's progressively gotten worse. So now we're up over 10 million people total over the first 3 years. So when they say it's not going, when it's going down and improving, and we got a strong border, they're lying out their ass because that's not true. We know it's not true. We've seen it. We've seen the footage, and we know that policies are intentional because they don't want closed border. They want an open border. They repeat the line all the time that they want replacement theory full strong. They want to replace the electorate as is so they can have power forever. That's their only goal. This is all by design. You have to understand that this isn't just sheer incompetence, though that is everywhere in the administration. But this is by design as a way of changing the electorate forever so that Democrats always stay in power. That is the bottom line. So you have a Supreme Court decision handed down, and Texas has not backed down. They and exactly done what I thought they would have done and stand strong. They are not cutting the wire, and the Border Patrol that was allowed access is also not cutting the wire, and they're working hand in hand, and they're putting up more wire as we speak. But that hasn't stopped Democrats and even the White House from entertaining the idea that we'll just federalize the National Guard. What does that mean? Well, it's a federal takeover. What that means is that they will have power over the National Guard. You're not supposed to do that unless times of disaster or a threat to the homeland. This isn't either of those times. This is a case in which you have a president who just doesn't like a policy the state is doing. And so therefore he wants to federalize an agency to control it and stop them from doing their lawful order instead. This goes back to when the Biden administration has a Supreme Court order handed down to them over student loans. And what do? Ignore the order. Texas is following the order of its own constitution. That is it. You have one job: secure the border. The federal government's not doing it. Texas will do it. This is a political stunt, and it always has been by Democrats. They don't have a solution. They don't want to close the border. They want to play politics, and that's why they're suing states that don't do what they like. It's the same thing as the veto power from the president. As a veto power, you're not supposed to veto any law that you disagree with. You're supposed to only veto laws that are bad for the country or bad for the state. As a governor, if you're as a governor, you're not supposed to veto things just because you don't like it. That's not how this works. It's not how the Constitution works. It's not how this country is run. So the Biden administration is in the wrong here, and the Supreme Court is also in the wrong for making a ruling that is at odds with the Constitution. You have federal orders to protect the border. Now, this hasn't stopped Democrats to call on it, a growing number of them. Prominent figures, in fact. The Biden administration has been at odds with Texas over immigration for years, but tensions have reached this new height as the height of the Supreme Court ruling was handed down. You have Joaquin Castro. He's a representative from Texas. He's a Democrat. Governor Abbott is using the Texas National Guard to obstruct and create chaos at the border. If Abbott is defying yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, POTUS needs to establish sole federal control of the Texas National Guard. So he's causing chaos by closing the border and securing it. Okay. Many Democrats have cited the previous examples of President Dwight Eisenhower's decision to federalize the Arkansas National Guard after then Governor Eugene Fabos mobilized it to prevent the implementation of Brown v. Board of Education's ruling. Abbott is using the Texas National Guard to defy a Supreme Court ruling. When Governor of Arkansas did this in 1957, Eisenhower federalized the Arkansas Guard to ensure compliance with the law. That's also a case where Eisenhower had no control over either. He should not have authorized federalization there either. But that's what they do. They go off the wall and they try to make it their own. So in response to Texas now standing up for itself, Biden just coincidentally decides that, well, we're going to start banning gas exports at the border. So no making money for Texas, and then Wyoming's oil industry also was impacted by this. Biden administration ban on liquid natural gas, this is according to the Cowboy State Daily, announced Friday is just another hit from federal agencies at ending oil and gas in U.S. and Wyoming. So this is in Wyoming, but this was effective after the Texas decisions handed down. So he's putting a pause on approvals for pending and future applications to export liquefied natural gas from new projects in the United States. And the oil industry has been scratching its head over these already tepid auctions to lease federal land, but now because they can't address it because the demand is high, and now they're canceling all these sales and exports. So on the front, Petroleum Association of Wyoming has signed on with another energy interest to protest Joe Biden's indefinite moratorium on the LNG export approval process. So that you can see the difference between the Biden administration and common sense approach is that when Biden gets mad, he's just going to start banning things and making it harder for states to do their jobs. We've seen time and time again this administration go above and beyond, ruining what states are trying to do to get this country back on track. However, there are multiple resources. You have 25 states, Republican states, that have now decided, hey, we stand with Texas. And there is more on the way. There's a giant convoy of truckers. Remember the Canadian truckers that were up in Canada protesting the government because they were just locking down everything? They had their money seized. I don't think it's going to happen here unless they have infiltration. But this is what's happening here. And I got a couple different articles. One is from Blaze Media. It talks about it. The Take Our Borders Back convoy heads to southern states as protest Biden's wide open borders. This is the good side. I've got an article from the Daily Beast that absolutely destroys what this convoy is all about. And it's funny to read them because these idiots over the Daily Beast have no idea what they're talking about. So if you haven't heard, it's a multi-state convoy of Americans that have been fed up, like you and I, with the Biden administration's wide open border policies is currently headed to the southern border to shed light on the crisis. The Take Our Border Back convoy described itself as a coalition of concerned Americans from across the nation. This is a lawful, peaceful gathering of concerned Americans. A January press release from the group stated, a goal is simple, to shed light on the obvious dangers posed by the wide open southern borders. Coalition also aims to request all laws of our Constitution be immediately upheld, a call for action to secure our borders before irreversible serious consequences befall our nations, and put an end to drug and human trafficking. As I said, the header of my podcast tonight is Texas versus Biden. It's an America on the brink. That's where we're at. We're on the brink of, if Texas falls, so does our republic. Now, if you don't think we're a republic already because of things that are happening, this is going to make sure that we never have the things that we enjoy. If Texas falls, so does America. Texas is our beacon of last hope. Texas has to remain strong, and we have to fight with Texas against this illegal, out of touch, Marxist, socialist, communist administration that decides that open borders and millions and millions and millions of military-aged men can just flock into the country, and drugs and human trafficking, rapes, murders, all kinds of things will increase as the numbers keep coming up. You have a city the size of Los Angeles as the total amount of people here in this country. That can't be sustained. You have Democrats in other states and cities that are getting tired of the border being out of control. Democrats, yes, Democrat mayors and governors are like, we need more federal dollars because we can't take all these illegal immigrants. Denver decides we can't handle 40,000 immigrants. How do you think Texas is doing? Eat crow, Denver. The convoy is welcoming all active and all retired law enforcement and military veterans, elected officials, business owners, ranchers, truckers, bikers, media, and law-abiding. Key here, law-abiding. They're not going to be a railroaded group of idiots. These are just simple Americans done with what's happening to our country. Uniting we the people in our resolute stand is a peaceful, lawful, and clear message to all city, state, and federal politicians and immigration enforcement officials who are enabling tens of thousands of illegal immigrants into the country, criminals and known terrorists of over 160 countries worldwide to cross daily across our border. It's going to get worse. According to the group's website, though, the convoy kicked off in Virginia Beach on Monday morning and stopped off in Jacksonville, Florida that evening. On Tuesday, the group set off to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. and plans to head to Dripping Springs, Texas. After hosting a pep rally in Dripping Springs, they will then continue to Eagle Pass, Texas, and Yuma, Arizona. The group also plans to host rallies in Yuma, Eagle Pass, San Isidro, and California. On Tuesday, Biden told reporters, "I've done all I can do. I've done all I can do. Just give me the power. Give me the Border Patrol. Give me the people. Give me the judges. Give me the people who can stop this and make it right." You had everything in place to make it right. You had it. And I have a clip of him just saying that. This is 21 seconds of him saying, "I have all I can have. I got it. Just give me everything."
With executive authority, or is there more you could do? Absent
done all I can do. Just give me the power. I've asked for the very day I got in office. Give me the border patrol. Give me the people. Give me the people, the judges. Give me the people who can stop this and make it work right.
That's it. Just give me the people. Give them the power. You've had the power to do it, and you've done nothing but open the border wide open. Now, remember, this is the same White House that said when they got elected, they would bring decency and honor and bring the adults back to the White House. Remember that? The adults are back in charge. Let me just show you the adults and decency back in charge.
Character is on the ballot. Compassion is on the ballot. Decency, science, democracy, they're all on the ballot. Who we are as a nation, what we stand for, and most importantly, who we want to be, that's all on the ballot. How old are you, 17? And the choice could not be more clear.
Yeah, sounds like the adults are back in the room. Bunch of disgusting inbreds in the White House running around. Now, the article I want to bring you next regarding the border mess. So this is the Daily Beast, and the writers over there, wow, they are some really, really desperate people who need to just drink a glass of water. They are obsessed with calling out this convoy as anything but peaceful. I'm going to break this down for you because I had a hard time getting through this without laughing or just shaking my head. So you just get through this. A convoy of Jesus-loving truckers will converge on the southern border next week in a battle to stop what they say is a migrant invasion. As Texas remains locked in a standoff and the feds are over razor wire and installed. That's not the standoff that they're worried about. It's not the razor wire. It's the illegal immigration they're installing over the Rio Grande. But the event called the Take Our Border Back Convoy and promoted far-right media. Far-right media promoted it. You hear that? Far-right is now wanting your borders to be legal and closed and secured and make sure people are safe and not being raped. But far-right media is promoting it only. No, just common sense people who want their border closed. They're advertising it as a peaceful assembly of active former law enforcement, military, ranchers, bikers, business owners, and mama bears. How dare they want a safe border? And they bring about Media Matters, of all places, the well-respected media group. Some organizers include a rogues of gallery of election deniers, anti-vaxxers, and QAnon conspiracy theorists. That's all we are. We're anti-vaxxers, election deniers, and QAnon conspiracy theorists. That's all we are. We want a secure border? You're QAnon. Anti-vaxxer. That has nothing to do with securing the border, but great job there, guy. The one ringleader, Kim Yeater, recently told a Christian podcaster that the convoy is a God movement. They also brought a lower G there. Good job. That could halt a Trojan horse in the 2024 election. They quoted her, "We've got to take our border back, shine a light on what's going on, and expose it," said Yeater, a radio host who promotes 2020 election fraud lies. So they're blaming her because she's a radio host, so they don't take her seriously because she's one of the election deniers in 2020. The Bible says to bring back everything into light. We need to hold our elected officials accountable to closing the border and sending illegal immigrants home to their countries. The battle is the Lord's, Yeater added. We must step in as victors in Christ. We are not victims of the enemy. Co-organizer Mark Anthony told another right-wing show The Spirit of God, we all feel it. It's coming. And it's the most amazing feeling that God could put on some hearts to have this assembly. He continued, He is here. He is present. This is all about Him. I couldn't agree more. You should be standing up as these 700,000 people are about to do and flood the border. Go to these people in charge, go to the states, go to your congressmen, go to your senators, go to your governor's mansions, get a hold of these idiots in charge and say, you know what? Enough is enough. Give me back my country. Where's everybody at? Show of hands. Who's going to do that? Who's going to fight? It takes an entire movement to take our country back. It has to happen. The convoy, Daily Beast goes on, which has raised more than $54,000 as of Friday evening, last Friday, will take off January 29th and meet in 3 different spots along the border, as I mentioned earlier: Eagle Pass, Yuma, Arizona, and San Ysidro. Quote, the convoy is just an opportunity to engage in the kind of cosplay that they've been doing at the state capitals. Oh, the kind of cosplay like you have in your classrooms where little girls and boys are trying to be furries and they want to crap in the litter box and have a cry closet? That kind of cosplay? No, this convoy is going down to the border and helping to close it and keep their voices heard. We the people are we the people, not we the people, the government. Remember when Joe Biden said that during his State of the Union address? We the people are tired of this Democrat administration, this un-American administration, destroying this country. This convoy is not another cosplay. State capitals? Where have you seen cosplay that they're accusing these people are doing? Like the ones in schools? Dressing up as furries and litter boxes? Yeah. Those are the cosplay idiots. Oh, there's more. A promotional video for the cavalcade opens with the words, warning, invasion alert, with the backdrop of outdoor sirens and night vision footage. When does it end? It asks, before cutting to images of American flag waving truckers. Don Hader Markle, professor of political science at the University of Kansas, told the Daily Beast that he had 2 concerns: that it could be just a money-grabbing scheme and that it will attract armed extremists and vigilante groups. No, it's just people wanting to close the border. Just, that's it. They're just fed up. But they're vigilantes. We all are extremists. Parents are extremists. Everyday Americans waving the American flag. If you even say, God bless America, you're an extremist. Rhetoric displayed in the video, they said, along with former President Trump's remarks that immigrants are poisoning the blood of the country, could spark a volatile situation. He's never once said immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country. They always take his lines out of context. He was talking specifically about the gangs, the violence, the drugs, the illegal activity at the border. The criminals are ruining this country from across the border. Nothing to do with immigrants. Do they know that every one of his wives have not been American? Do they know this? He's not against immigration. His wives are all immigrants. Legally. He's talking about the criminals that are letting in, the terrorists that are coming in and possibly landing another terrorist attack on this country. Do you want that? I sure as hell don't. Close the border. They're basically setting up a confrontation, this political hack says. What we're doing is to confront not just this problem, but individual migrants that might be trying to cross the border. So the sense of threat and responding to that threat is elevated. You're getting people worked up into a frenzy over this. I'm in a frenzy? And the notion that it's going to be completely peaceful and there's no criminal activity, nothing bad's going to happen, seems really, really misguided. Okay, remember that peaceful assembly and that peaceful protest? Mostly peaceful when the courthouse and behind you in Seattle was on fire? That was mostly peaceful, but this is going to be violent. Noted. Okay. The truckers will ascend on Texas as tensions run high. This week, they talked about the Texas Supreme Court ruling, and then now they hail on the Biden administration said the wire prevented federal agents from being able to watch the border. What? It injured some people trying to enter the country? Yeah, it injures people. When you try to cross over razor wire, it's going to cut you. Stop trying to cross it, and it wouldn't hurt you. They complained about it again earlier this month. A migrant woman and two children drowned in the Rio Grande after Texas National Guard blocked the feds. The feds had nothing to do with that. They were able to access the family. You know why they drowned? Because they couldn't swim crossing the river. The Rio Grande is a large river across the border. They drowned because they were trying to cross. If they just would have turned around and stopped trying to cross, they probably wouldn't have died. Shame on that mother for letting her two children drown in the river trying to cross to get here. Newsmax aired a disturbing interview, according to Daily Beast, stoking fears of a civil war. Well, they're not wrong. One host speculating on a force-on-force conflict with Texas and the federal government. Well, I've always said there's going to be a civil war. If you don't stop this, there's going to be. It's going to be the ones who actually love this country versus the ones who don't and don't have guns to support them. On Friday, Texas Representative Keith Self, a Republican, appeared on Fox Business, and as many as 700,000 trucks could flock to the border. Self, a scheduled speaker at the Eagle Pass stop, said the participants will be some of the same truckers who traveled from California to Washington in 2022. As the Daily Beast reported, that protest, known as the People's Convoy, was aimed at fighting pandemic restrictions. Yeah, same thing, same convoy. It's a protest. That's what the difference between us and Democrats is that we know how to protest and go to a limit where it's peaceful and constructive. When Democrats protest, they blow shit up. That's their idea of protest. That's not First Amendment. They continue going on. Convoy promoter Pete Chambers, a self-described Green Beret doctor, told InfoWars that Alex Jones, they hate him. Globalists were using migrants as pawns at the border and a larger chessboard on the world level to destabilize the country. The term globalist, embraced by far-right conspiracy circles, has origins as an anti-Semitic slur. What? So because you're a globalist, you call somebody a globalist. Let me get this right. You're far-right, conspiracists, and anti-Semitic. When did the word globalist become anti-Semitic? It didn't. Good God. There's so much more. They're talking about the COVID restrictions, and they go on about they're still this whole article written by Kate Bricklet at the Daily Beast. She's a senior reporter. She should know better. I could go on and on and on forever on these issues that this administration continues to have, but it won't get fixed unless one of us stands up and takes an army. And Texas is standing up to the Biden administration, and they should. So I know that I did another episode recently on the border and showed more in-depth numbers. I just wanted to cover the Supreme Court case, the update of the National Guard, where they're standing. They're still putting up razor wire. They're still trying. You got a convoy coming down the border. You have the president. You have Kamala. You have Democrats across the way just unloading on what they think a border policy should be. You've got so many things going on, and we don't know how this will play out. But if Texas falls, you'll know exactly how that plays out. The Republic's going to fall. Now, that hasn't stopped the president coming out and trying to talk about the border. He was in Columbia, I think, South Carolina this week, talking about it. And he did speak English. Yeah, he was almost falling asleep. Take a listen.
Asylum officers and over 100 cutting-edge inspection machines to help detect and stop fentanyl coming on our southwest border.
What? What did he just say? Did you hear that? Let's play again.
Asylum officers and over 100 cutting-edge inspection machines to help detect and stop fentanyl coming on our southwest border.
Huh? Asylum? Southwest border? Yeah. Mm-mm. On the same clip, not too long after the speech, Joyless Reed, as Mark Levin calls her, she loses her mind inadvertently on Joe Biden. She tries to play the clip talking about the border, and she gets caught in a hot mic using the F word on TV. Oh my goodness. This is actually gold, because I'm glad I've heard her say it, because even now she's fed up with the Biden administration trying to cause wars.
Over the weekend, President Biden said he's ready to take action if Congress is serious about solving the border issue.
If that bill were the law today, I'd shut down the border right now and fix it quickly. And Congress needs to get it done.
Starting another fucking war. Still trying to kill the deal.
What? He's starting another war. She just said it. Well, Joy, calm down. It's okay. There will be another war. You're right. That's fine. I'm glad she said it. You know what? It's like Ron Burgundy when you put a question mark on a teleprompter and he will read it and you go, I'm Ron Burgundy. Joy Reid just goes, motherfucking war. Yep, that actually happened. You can imagine the producers going, yeah, screaming. But don't forget, these people love open borders. They absolutely have to have it. They call us conspiracy theorists. They call you racist. Remember Trump's border wall? Racist, xenophobic for wanting the border shut. Biden just talked about it there in that clip. Give me the resources. I'll close the border. He's not racist for closing the border? No. But only if we had somebody in charge of the border actually go to the border and see how bad it was. Oh, what's her name? Kamala. That's right. Kamala Harris. She's the border czar. You think a border czar would actually go, I don't know, to the border and inspect it and see if it was on par? No. Remember this beauty?
And at this moment in history, I say, let us not throw up our hands when it's time to roll up our sleeves. Because we were born for a time such as this. And we love our country. We believe in the principles upon which we were founded, and guided by our faith, we are prepared to fight for all that we know is right and hold dear. And I know that when we fight, we win.
She rolled up her sleeves. Yeah, she did. She also pulled down her pants sometimes along the way, along the campaign trails too. Oh, Kamala. She loves her some border policies. Problem is, she's not anywhere to be found in the border. All right. Now that I'm calmed down from the blood pressure overload there. So, like I said, you got Democrats, some Democrats still calling for border control, even though they're not as sane as the Republican side. You've got Democrats going out there on media saying, well, we've got one. We've got a border policy. Just get it to Biden's desk. Just sign it. Yep, we got it. Well, who wrote it? A Democrat. Yeah, what's in it? I don't know. We gotta sign it. We gotta pass it to sign it. Here is the dumbest person in Congress. Again, there's a lot of them, but here's another one. One of the Biden henchmen, Democrat Chris Murphy from Connecticut. He, along with Chuck Schumer and other Democrats who wrote this in their basement, has a bipartisan bill, believe it or not. It's going to shut the border down. You just have to get it to the Biden's desk. He actually ties it into Ukraine when you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to take one issue, put it in the bill, sign it, take care of that one issue. Democrats and Republicans in Congress in the swamp don't do that. They take 100 issues, put it in one bill, put something very important at the bottom of the bill, and put something they want in the middle so you can't read it, and give you an hour to read it. This is Chris Murphy on CNN talking about, if you just gave us this power to stop the border and put this in this bill, pass this bill, we'll close the border. Also, if you don't, Ukraine won't get their money. What border are we talking about? Russian border or United States border? I can't figure that out, but here he is.
Do you have a deal?
Well, we do have a bipartisan deal. We're finishing the text right now. And the question is whether Republicans are going to listen to Donald Trump, who wants to preserve chaos at the border because he thinks that it's a winning political issue for him, or whether we are going to pass legislation which would be the biggest bipartisan reform of our border and immigration laws in 40 years and would give the President of the United States, whether that president is a Republican or a Democrat, new important power to be able to better manage the flow of people across the border. We are sort of finalizing the last pieces of text right now. This bill could be ready to be on the floor of the United States Senate next week, but it won't be if Republicans decide that they want to keep this issue unsettled for political purposes. So I was glad to hear the president come out and speak forcefully in favor of this bill. I am hopeful that we will still have enough Republicans in the Senate who want to fix the problem at the border rather than just do Donald Trump's bidding. But we will see over the next 24 to 48 hours whether that's true.
I want to get to some of the more specific substance in this deal in a minute, but because you mentioned Donald Trump and the role that he is now playing actively, apparently lobbying his fellow Republicans in, never mind the House, but also in the Senate to kill the bill. Are you confident that you even have the Republican support in the Senate? What are you hearing?
Well, I hope that we have the Republican support for this bill, and I think that there are many Republicans in the Senate who are sincere about trying to come together and do our job. I mean, listen, right now the president does not have the tools that he needs in order to stop the flow of 10,000 people a day to better manage the asylum system. So let's come together and give him those tools. But let's also be cognizant of the fact that if we don't pass this bill, Ukraine won't get its military funding. Remember, the whole reason that we are talking about borders because Republicans have said they will let Vladimir Putin march his army in and through Ukraine if we don't pass a bill that includes border provisions and Ukraine funding. So the consequence of failure here is not just that we keep immigration as an open issue available for Donald Trump to exploit in the next election. It is also that Ukraine loses this war and that.
So you have a bipartisan border bill that will also stop Ukraine from being further invaded by Russia. Let me get this clear. You have a southern Texas border bill to stop illegals from coming over, but also Russia doesn't invade Ukraine. What country are we living in? Who are we? Do we have a United States Congress on the best interests of United States citizens? Or do we have a U.S. Congress on the best interests of Ukraine? Hundreds of billions of dollars later going to Ukraine's border, that's okay. 5.5 to 10 billion for our own border. Nope. No money to be found here. We're gonna patch up Ukraine's border so mean old Russia can't invade them. But no money for you. Where's the soup Nazi at? No money for you. Unbelievable. That just that's all you can do is shake your head. These people do not care about the American citizens or this country. You just heard a sitting U.S. senator tell you, if we don't pass this, Ukraine can't stop Russia. It's not about Ukraine. America's southern border is under attack. We're being invaded overnight. We're not going to be able to sustain this. Stop the flow of immigrants coming into this country first. America first. Who gives a shit about Ukraine? You can't do anything else but shake your head because you feel powerless at times. Here's KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, the best communicator the White House has, black lesbian. That's what she goes by prominently. Nothing else matters. She's not a great communicator. She doesn't know how to talk. She can't speak. She can't speak the truth. She can't tell you the answer. She can't answer the questions. But that's all she cares about. If you refer to her as a black lesbian, that's all that matters. But if you call her dumb, you're a racist. Here she is explaining, not really explaining, not answering questions on the border and trying to call the shots to who's really in charge.
Give us a little bit more about what the president meant when he said he would shut down the border.
Well, it's very clear.
He'd stop people from being able to cross back and forth
What he wants to do
employment,
is
for trade.
No, I hear you. What he wants to do is make sure that we deal with the challenges at the border. That is what he wants to make sure that we do. He wants the new authorities, the new enforcement tools that is being discussed. that he believes, if it's put into law, will help him deal with the issues at the border. And not just that, we're talking about immigration policy, actually doing meaningful changes to immigration policy so that we can deal with a broken system, a broken immigration system that has been broken for some decades now. And so we'll have some, I'm sure once they come to and have a bipartisan agreement, the text will be released, and then we'll have more to share there. I think I have to go. I have to go.
Is what you're saying, right?
Well,
shut down the border means shut down the border.
I'll say this. The first day of his administration, the president took this issue very seriously. He put forth a comprehensive.
I can't. The first day of this administration, the president signed an executive order wiping out every one of Trump's border policies. Undid it all. Trump's Remain in Mexico policy. They sued to remove Title 42, which is a pandemic-era policy to reduce the amount of people coming over. From day one, this administration has canceled policy after policy to strengthen the border. Trump handed you a clean border, a safer border, and a secure border, and they've done it, just shredded it all from day one. Day one, this man has written, 300 plus executive orders wiping out everything Trump did. And Trump predicted it. They don't care about the American people. When are you going to see this? Now, I know most of you already do, but friends of ours, family members who maybe don't think like us, they go about their lives, right? They go about their lives because, they think, oh, well, it's not affecting me. It's not going to matter to me. I know where I'm going in the end, but their kids, grandkids, our kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, they're not going to have a future if we don't stand up as a generation. Now, Reagan said it, we're one generation away. Freedom is one generation away from being extinct. You have to, it doesn't just come easy. You have to keep fighting. I don't understand the level of incompetence, the stupidity, and the sheer out destructiveness that the Democrats have. It never goes on. All right. Moving on from the border, we got some other topics I want to get to. I know we got the New Hampshire primary that happened last week. We've got some other stories that came out, so I'm going to get to those. I'm going to see we got comments here regarding KJP. I don't think she's ever said anything truthful. She takes compulsive lying to a whole new level. I completely agree. She is the worst human being possible. All right. Before we get to the next split of information, we do have one person standing up, and he's actually representative of the area that's under attack in Texas. And he's about the only representative. There are very few representatives in Congress who actually represent us out here in the boonies. And you know who he is because he represents Texas, and he's very vocal in the U.S. House on the floor on various debates, and he loves to take on the woke and the trash that is the Democrat Party. Here he is calling out his constituent or his colleagues on the border and just laying them to the woodshed about what they're not doing.
Madam Speaker, the American people are tired of getting a complete lack of representation from their representatives. Nobody in this country looks at Congress and says, wow, heck of a job, guys and gals. Well done. Who would do that? Would we do that? By the way, it does not matter who's sitting in the speaker's seat or who's got the majority. We keep doing the same stupid stuff. Now, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have no problem with wide open borders endangering the people that I represent. None. And my constituents are the ones left holding the bag, and the people of Texas are the ones left spending $12.5 billion. And my people are the ones who have 6 kids die from fentanyl poisoning in the school district that I represent. Yeah, it's not fun to smirk at that, is it, when we're talking about dead children from fentanyl poisoning because of wide open borders, because of the policies of my Democrat colleagues who refuse to do anything about it. Not a thing. Not a thing do my colleagues do about the wide open borders. And I will continue to speak to my colleagues because...
Also be in order. The gentleman will address his comments to the chair.
Well, Madam Speaker, I am addressing my comments to the chair.
The House will be in order.
I'm addressing the chair on behalf of the people that I represent who are dying in Texas because of Democrats. Directly because of Democrat policies. And they can shake their heads all they want, but the blood of the people in Texas are on their hands.
Well said, sir. That was Chip Roy, congressman from Texas. He's going to lay into the Democrats every chance he gets on the border. It's a nightmare. All right. So the other news tidbits to get to. The border one was a big one because I know Texas is still fighting the Biden administration. But we've got a primary happening, and then Nikki Haley is falling further behind. Now she heads into South Carolina in a 2-state hole where she lost Iowa big and she lost New Hampshire. It's funny how you keep losing the states and you come out of your speeches and say, "Yeah, we did a great job. We came in second place, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's great. But you lost. Yeah, no, it's fine. Second place is fine. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it is fine. You're losing, but that's okay. It's okay." But interesting to note, so New Hampshire goes Trump's way, and South Carolina, she's down by 30 points going into that. I don't know for sure when the primary is there. But Trump wins New Hampshire. Nikki Haley comes out and says, "Yeah, did a great job. We lost, but we fought hard. But we're going to keep winning, even though you're not winning." It's interesting that some of the numbers that break down. Even now, this is even CNN talking about this, not some right-wing conspiracy like Fox or even Red State and Town Hall. No, this is CNN breaking down the numbers. It's weird that two Republicans are running against each other, although one seems highly, highly likely to win because given the support he has, the other one kind of is getting Democrat support. Isn't that weird? Republican getting a Democrat support in the primary seems like to be a problem. You don't want Democrats voting for you if you're a Republican running against Biden. That's a problem. But here is CNN breaking down the numbers. 70% of Republicans who registered Republicans voted for Trump. Okay, got it. Strong support in New Hampshire. 27% were undeclared, and 3, I think, were not registered at all until that day. So he normally, he had 70% of the registered Republican support in New Hampshire. The key breakdown for Nikki Haley, she had the opposite. 70% of the registered undeclared, which would have been independent voters, voted for her, which would have been Democrat possibly. She only had 27% of Republicans voted for her. So the tables were tossed. Haley is widely supported by moderate Democrats and Democrats who hate Biden but also hate Trump. That's who's meddling in our primary. You have Democrats voting for Haley to try to get Haley the nomination because she's better than Trump. So here's CNN even breaking it down the numbers. How weird this seems that Haley's getting a lot of Democrat support.
About how the rest of the night might play out. Let's go back to David Chalian with that. And David, you're getting more on the ways that Republican primary voters don't see eye to eye?
Yes, that's right, Jake. In these exit poll results, you see a Mars and Venus universe for Haley and Trump coalitions here. Take a look at the numbers. Among Trump voters, 70% of them, according to our exit polls, are registered Republicans. Donald Trump, his support, 27% of his voters are registered undeclareds or independents. 3% were unregistered before today. Look at how that compares with Nikki Haley. It's a complete reversal. It's an alternate universe. Among Haley voters, 70% are registered undeclareds. Only 27% are registered Republicans. We also see this when asking people, did Joe Biden legitimately win the 2020 election? Which he did. Among Trump voters, 80% say no. They say it wrongly. No, Joe Biden did not legitimately win the 2020 election. Haley voters, it's the complete opposite. 83% of Haley voters say correctly that Joe Biden was the legitimate winner in 2020. Only 15% of her voters say wrongly that he was not. This is the Trump-Haley Mars-Venus election tonight in New Hampshire.
All right, David, thank you so much. Interesting stuff. Anderson, quite a thing to behold, all those people.
There you have it. The numbers are there. Why are more Democrats voting for Haley in a Republican primary? Seems awfully odd. So Haley loses New Hampshire, and she's on to South Carolina, where her home state. She was governor formerly, and she's going to lose there too. So remains to be seen how far she'll go. She needs to kind of drop out. We got more comments flowing in. I appreciate it. J Max, Jean-Claude Pierre has an IQ of 12. Yeah. Andrea, Nikki Haley keeps sending me things. I won't vote for her. Yeah, don't. Please don't. These Democratic idiots want illegals to flood the U.S. It's the only way they'll be able to require votes, despite them being illegitimate. Yeah, the Democrats have come on and wanting all kinds of illegal votes to happen, despite them not being here legally. You can't vote in the U.S. elections, but only in Democrat cities. Yeah, they'll steal another one. They absolutely will. All right. So New Hampshire is on the way off, and Trump wins. He's on to South Carolina. Some other newsworthy things to get into. This one just keeps getting weirder and weirder. We have another millionaire come upon us this week. No, not by lottery. No, not by inheritance. Well, if you call inheritance a wide-ranging case in the court where you sue because you thought somebody raped you 30 years ago, and then he didn't, but he defamed you by free speech because he can call you a liar, a compulsive sociopath, and crazy who would never ever look your way. If you call that an inheritance, yeah, then you can get million. 83 million, in fact. That's how much an 80-year-old E. Jean Carroll got this week as she won her defamation case against Trump. Weird. She sued in New York State. Seems to be a lot of that going around when they sue New York and Trump. That's the problem. 83 million for defamation of character. I want to know how much of that she's actually going to get, minus the fees. I want to know how much she's actually going to use to spend on worthy things like, taking care of her place she lives. Because have you seen the video where she lives? She lives in a trailer out in the woods somewhere, maybe in Idaho. And she's got all kinds of wigs, colorful wigs. She's got crap coming off her siding. She's got rats and dogs, and she names her dogs and writes on the side of her house. The woman is a nightmare, but now she's $83 million richer. So she claims Trump raped her. She didn't get the rape guilty verdict that she wanted, but she got the defamation lawsuit. And you think that for somebody who was actually raped by Trump, or raped in general, you'd feel pretty crappy about yourself. Even 30 years later, you'd be kind of humble to things, and you'd be kind of hesitant to, throw your life out there. No, she's pretty proud. I don't have the clip tonight, but I saw a clip earlier that she's gloating about $83 million to MSNBC, and she's going to give Rachel Maddow a shopping makeover. And her lawyer's like, that's just a joke. The woman is batshit crazy. But here she is, even making Anderson Cooper a little uncomfortable, talking about how most women think rape is sexy. You can't make this up. Does this look like somebody that Trump would rape 30 years ago?
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Mm. Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
Mm. We're going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
Huh? You're fascinating to talk to. I'd like to see how much I can get you for, too. Another couple of 83 million. What a nut. But she's $83 million richer. I don't understand. I can't. Yeah. Well, when you sue in New York State against a man who's hated by the left in New York, and all the judges in New York are lefty, and all the jurors are handpicked by Democrats in the area, that's what you get. You don't get juried by your peers. I'm offended by your statement on yeah. I demand compensation. I'd like a couple $100 million just being offended by that claim that she made. Yeah. So there you have it. You got the border issue still ongoing. You got E. Jean Carroll, who's making $83 million off a guy who didn't actually rape her and told her that she was ugly to her face, and she sued and won. So there's that. So here's my thoughts on the next topic coming up, and I want to be serious about it and kind of straight and narrow with it, because the responses from some of these idiots in Congress recently to the wars in the Middle East going on, the conflicts going on, is disturbing. You have sitting senators, Republicans, talking openly about going and nuking Iran. You have a former Central Command officer say, go after Iran. Why would they be saying that? Well, as we were in Jordan tracking drones, we mistakenly thought one of the drones were ours, and the drone came in and attacked soldiers in Jordan. 3 were killed. And it was a horrible incident that happened. It shouldn't have happened. And it was, again, by an Iran-backed militant group that shot the drone. Horrible. But you have sitting senators and congressmen and Democrat talking heads. We need to go to war. We need to nuke Iran. I'm here to tell you that we are not in position to go to a full-fledged war with anybody currently. Now, that's not just a financial thing, because we've spent all of our money on Ukraine and tried to help Ukraine fight off Russia, which is not going well at all. Our economy is in the dump. Our border is wide open. We have no money for American citizens. We have no money for fighting Israel, even for fighting with Israel to fight off Hamas. But we're going to go ahead and nuke Iran. Do you think that's going to work out really well? What I thought should have happened from day one to handle Iran, because you have a national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, who also is compromised and has all his own problems with lawsuits and legal problems and corruption, comes out first day Joe Biden's regime takes over. Middle East has never been quieter than it is today. It is a ticking time bomb in the Middle East right now. How can you sit there and say that it has never been quieter than this today when you've got Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th? You've got over 160 military strikes against U.S. bases in the Middle East, just one over the weekend. These idiots think that the Middle East is just perfectly fine. We're doing fine. Oh, Joe Biden's great on foreign policy. Yeah, he's really great to the tune of getting our Americans killed every day. You have to respond. I agree. But what you should have done was continue to keep the Trump era policies in place. Like, I don't know, the Abraham Accords that set up Middle Eastern peace ruling for decades to come. You should have never brought back the Iranian deal, the nuke deal. That should have never been in place. You have policies in place when Biden took over that were making the Middle East a safer place. And now Biden comes along and says, you know what? Iran's going to get back their $6 billion. We're going to get wiped off the face of the earth because they continue to attack our bases. Oh, and they're funding some of the Hamas attacks on Israel and more. Not to mention the United Nations is behind it now too. Oh, yeah, but they're fighting for a good cause globally. Nope. We are funding United Nations efforts as their staffers are getting all kinds of information to the enemy and to Hamas on Israel. That's who we're up against. The United Nations doesn't like Israel. Iran wants a seat at the table. For what? Death to America? The pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist, pro-Palestinian groups that are protesting here in America, go back to your country. Or better yet, go over there. The Queers for Palestine group that says, we support you, they throw you off a building in Middle East. Do you know that? They don't support you. You may support them, but they'll cut your head off. You really want to fight against that? I don't. Idiots in charge of idiots. A calculated response would have been to keep the sanctions in place so that you continue to wreck Iran financially. How are all these attacks happening around the globe? Money. It takes money to strike militarily, and it takes support from economic activity. When you hamper their economic activity, what is the Middle Eastern's major source of economic activity? Oil production. If you cut off their ability to produce oil, they can't fund their wars. If you're energy independent, they can't produce oil to prop up the global fight. You shut off their access to money, and you shut off their ability to do these attacks. That's how you start. And then after you've crippled them and they continue to progress and find ways, then you get more strategic in your approach. But you don't just go, oh, nuke. No, because the fastest way to get dead, like Dan Bongino says, would be to nuke. And I'm not about to get dead right now. So we don't need to be going nuking other countries who have the capability of nuking us back. Because when one gets launched, another one gets launched in China, one gets launched in Iran, one gets launched in Russia, and we launch one, everybody gets dead. Now, if you listen to Dan Bongino's show this week, he talked about the idea of disappearing people altogether. Because when you have people like, when Soleimani was struck, and Trump made that more public because they wanted to kill a prominent leader and show and left a message like, hey, don't mess with us. Stop spreading terror around the world. They put him on camera when they took a drone strike to him getting out of the airport car. That's a public display of, hey, don't. You don't just say don't and then expect nothing to happen. You say don't, and then you bomb a guy getting out of his car on the way to the airport. That's how you send a message. You send a message by disappearing people. You don't do it publicly. You say, gee, where'd Sharif go? I don't know. He's missing a finger. He's got one over there. I don't know where he is. He hasn't been here in a while. You disappear people, but you don't say it. That's what he was talking about this week in one of his shows, his podcast. You disappear people, but you do it so that way nobody asks about it. They don't know. They don't know. That sends a message too. Well, where'd he go? Where'd Fred go? I don't know. Just disappeared. Start disappearing people. That gets a message across to leaders across the pond that maybe we shouldn't mess with the United States anymore. We got people disappearing. We got bodies showing up nowhere, and maybe we should stop messing with them. Because if they don't see a body and someone's gone, that means they've been disappeared. They got dead. So maybe if you start disappearing people and make people get dead behind the scenes, they'd maybe stop bombing us. You can't just go nuking people just because you feel like it. These warmongers in Congress need to be told to shut up and sit down. You can't just go nuking countries because you can and you want to. That's not how this works. You have to send a message. And I like what Dan Bongino brought to the table this week. Just start picking off people one by one. Target them. Take them out. Don't make it public. Send the message that way. You cut them off financially. Start disappearing people. That's how you take back some of the messaging here. You want to take out one of our military bases? You want to kill our soldiers? Okay. There's 3 or 4 more of your guys taken out, disappearing. What happened to Tony? He disappeared. I don't know. I don't know what happened. That way, there's no plausible liability. The administration go, what? He disappeared? I don't know. That's unfortunate. He disappeared. I have no idea where he went. That's how you get out of it. You don't have to come out and say, well, yeah, we did it. You don't have to broadcast that you kill anybody. You took anybody out in response. You cramp down on their money and you just start disappearing people and sending a message that way. That's my 2 cents. All right. It's been about an hour. I think I should probably stop annoying you guys a lot. Let's check in our comments here. And then we'll get to the wrapping up part. We can't afford to fund all these people. We have enough problems in our own country. The last thing we should be doing is funding other shenanigans. If America doesn't heal from the damage Biden has caused and continues to cause, the future is troubling. Yes. All right. I think I've shared everything I wanted to so far tonight. Guys, we are under a massive crisis constitutionally and as a nation. This year is an election year, and I know everybody says every election year is the most important, but this kind of is the most important election. Do you want to go the same way as Joe Biden and the destruction of America even further and on the global stage where we get wiped off the face of the earth because we don't care? No, I sure don't. I kind of don't want to. I don't want to get dead. So the best way to not get dead would be to vote somebody else besides Biden. That's my 2 cents there. All right. Get to some of my sponsors here and some other housekeeping things. Like always, if you want to follow me, you can subscribe to the podcast on audio version. You can like, follow, share, and subscribe to the Ryan Mac Show on YouTube. I put up videos on Rumble also. I'll share that link. And Facebook, Twitter, all over. I also have a website. I'll throw that up here. Working on a domain to make it easier to find, but there is the link to the website, ryanmacshow.superpass.io. That is something new I started this year, where you don't have to go out to all these platforms. I mean, if you want to catch the video stuff, that's fine. Eventually, the YouTube feeds will be up on the website also, but it's a centralized location where you can get all access to the podcast and the app. You can download the Superpass app and you download the podcast that way. It's all one place. You don't have to go to Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever and get the show. You don't have to download 10 apps to get content. Just one, the Superpass player, or you can hear it live on the webcast on the website. And you can follow me on Facebook and YouTube, and Twitter has the live streams there as well. So ryanmacshow.superpass.io, and an easier domain name is on the way. Also on the website, if you go to that website, you'll get my other sponsors. 50 Shades of Fleece. It is you get Tide blankets, fleece Tide blankets. You get baby blankets, sensory blankets. You get pillows, pillowcases, kitty kickers. I finally found the name of that from this time. They're catnip or cat marijuana based little kickers that cats like to kick, rabbit kick when they play with them. They get really high and they play with them. So that's kind of cool. It's still cold out. It's still frigid. When it was really negative 30, I have 3 of mine on me all the time. 50 Shades of Fleece. Check it out on the website. You can go on the Facebook group and buy a blanket. Hit her up for a blanket. Mention me, you might get a discount. I don't know. We'll see. Also, that I'm a huge fan of coffee. I love me some coffee, but I don't like woke companies that make my coffee. And I'm slowly, it's hard because we are a nation of independence from China, right? And everything we buy is from China. My phone, glasses, the microphones, all this stuff is probably made in China. My Mac computer that I'm working on is from China. But you can do certain things to make sure you get away from some of the woke things also, and not just depend on China. Blackout Coffee is one of those companies. They are based in Florida. They're growing by the day. It's great coffee. You're not compromising flavor, and they give donations and send care packages of coffee overseas to our troops. So they support our troops. They support the First and Second Amendment. They support our country, and they love our country. So if you're like-minded, you like great coffee, you're not going to sacrifice your money for woke companies, and you're not going to get an old roast that sits weeks on the shelf. Blackoutcoffee.com. Use promo code RyanM10 to save on your first order. Blackoutcoffee.com. Promo code RyanM10. Get you some good coffee. It's really good. You can support the show also in Venmo down there in the bottom. Another way you can do it. Look, if you want your senior to get pictures, if you want pictures of just yourself being weird in front of a tree by the lake, or just looking out and get a viral picture like Biden does in his lawn chair, in his wheelchair, and you don't want to sacrifice your soul to just take a cell phone picture because you want professional pictures, check out jmaxphoto.com. See him, his studios everywhere you want to be. You can be in a four-walled facility like this, or you can just be outside. He can take the studio to you, all-star crew. You'll never regret getting your pictures taken. The JMax Photo. jmaxphoto.com. Check him out. Part of me, when I thought about this, getting into the podcasting, thought, what am I doing? Get myself into? Still have no idea. But I'm just like one of you guys. I got tired of just sitting by and taking it. I know I'm just a peon. We're all in this. Like, what we got to vote. We got to do this. We can't do. We're limited. What all the tech giants want to silence people talking. They got conservative talking voices being silenced. I decided to jump on, and this is what I love doing. So if you like what I bring, and I get better every week, hopefully, I've been doing this for about a year. Follow along and enjoy the ride. Support the show any way you can. You got sponsors. You go to the website. You can subscribe on the YouTube. You can follow me on Facebook. I bring as much content as I can. It's usually once a week. I do have guests. I've gotten some guest opportunities that I've had, and I got more to come this year, so stay tuned. As always, check you later, guys. See ya.